Welcome back to Free Play Arcade, the show where I find interesting games that you can play for free. Yeah, okay, call me a child, but I went online to specifically play another game for Free Play Arcade, and then the moment I logged onto itch.io, I was greeted by this game, Dank Tomb, by Jacob Wasilewski. The name, Dank Tomb, immediately made me chuckle, and considering that I don't think I've talked at all about Pico 8 games previously, this game seemed like a great opportunity. In fact, I got so excited that I wrote this paragraph before even playing the game. How's that for creative transparency? So, while I promise you that I will do a video about the Pico 8 in the future, this video is going to cover specifically Dank Tomb and how it stands as a game by itself, rather than as a representative of the whole Pico 8 platform. In Dank Tomb, you play as an adventurer, not unlike an Indiana Jones type character in appearance. True to the name of the game, the entirety of the world I explored was in a deep, dark, dank tomb. Essentially, the player moves from room to room, solving puzzles and unlocking new parts of the tomb to allow deeper access. Along the way, the player collects various artifacts, which help solve puzzles, allow access to rooms, or help with general exploration. Just like all Pico 8 games, Dank Tomb runs at a whopping 128 by 128 pixel resolution, with a fixed 16 color palette. For those of you keeping track, that's less fidelity than you would find in a Game Boy screen, with less than a third of the colors that were available on the NES. And yet, even through these constraints, a game with a pretty solid atmosphere and clear art direction emerges. The extreme constraints have made it so that developers either go very Spartan with their game's visuals, or they become very deliberate and pull off some pretty wild effects on the way. More on that in a future episode. Dank Tomb is a game with an extremely dark atmosphere. Most everything in the world is shrouded in darkness, with only the main character's lantern as a beacon of light to flood its proximity with the excellent color choices made by this game's developer. Jacob has actually pulled off a pretty neat effect with the light, shifting the colors and complexity of the environment sprites based on their proximity to light sources. If it weren't for this visual style, Dank Tomb would just be another dungeon crawler with environment hazards. Not that I would really have a problem with that. As you might imagine, the controls are as Spartan as everything else. This game supports a full 360 degrees of movement, the ability to jump, and the ability to interact with objects. But I would argue, in a game that is literally just player versus environment, is there much else that would be needed to make a fun and compelling game? This is a game full of pitfalls and switch-based puzzles, and keeping the control scheme minimal is in Dank Tomb's favor. However, there is a part of me that feels like a game like this may have felt tighter if the character movement was restricted to 8-direction grid-based movement. Having a full 360 degrees of freedom mixed with the small resolution of the game led to moments where I thought I was between traps but was actually just barely still touching some spikes or within the path of a projectile. This led to a lot of deaths for me, but I could also just be bad at games. Dank Tomb is what I imagine you would get if you were to cross Zelda with Spelunky. There's a lot of death, mixed with clever puzzles, but nothing so difficult that I found myself stumped for a solution. And although there doesn't appear to be a ton of depth to the game, there are plenty of collectibles and secrets hidden around the world if you enjoy the hunt. Dank Tomb is easy enough to pick up for a few minutes and come back later if you're short of free time. So with that in mind, what's keeping you from giving this dungeon crawler a try?